woman who stopped explaining her. Know every time you say yes against yourself, something inside gets quieter. Nobody hears it. Nobody sees it. You smile, you nod. You say, "Sure, I can do that." Then you walk away feeling strangely empty. Maybe your coffee gets cold beside you. Maybe you stare at the ceiling afterward. Maybe you wonder why you're exhausted again. The answer is simple. You said yes when everything inside screamed no. And perhaps the most painful part isn't helping someone. It's knowing you abandoned yourself again. You wanted to disappoint nobody, so you disappointed yourself instead. You wanted to avoid conflict, so you created conflict inside your own mind. You wanted everyone comfortable, so you carried the discomfort alone. For years, this can look like kindness. It can look generous. It can look feminine. It can even look emotionally mature. But there is a difference between kindness and self-erasure. A woman who cannot say no isn't always kind. Sometimes she's afraid. Afraid of being disliked. Afraid of being abandoned. Afraid of appearing selfish. Afraid someone will change their opinion. Afraid someone will leave. And eventually, she becomes exhausted from managing everyone else's feelings. Then something changes. She realizes something uncomfortable. Other people's disappointment isn't her emergency. That realization is quiet, but it can completely change her life. Chapter 1. The Guilt After the Word. The hardest part of saying no isn't saying it. It's surviving the silence afterward. You decline an invitation. You put your phone down. Then you wait. Your mind starts writing imaginary conversations. Did I sound rude? Do they think I'm selfish? Should I explain more? Maybe I should apologize. You pick up the phone. You type 3 paragraphs, then delete them. You write another message. You soften everything. You add unnecessary excuses. You say you're tired. You say you're busy. You say maybe next time. You try making your no easier to swallow. Why? Because you don't just want to communicate. You want permission to have boundaries. And that's where guilt becomes dangerous. Guilt can make you question perfectly reasonable decisions. You can decline something politely. Still, your chest feels tight. You can protect your evening. Still, you feel selfish. You can refuse someone's request. Still, you imagine their disappointment. The feeling becomes evidence. You think, if I feel guilty, I must be wrong. But feelings don't work that way. Guilt doesn't automatically mean wrongdoing. Sometimes guilt means you're doing something unfamiliar, especially when you've trained people to expect your availability. Your first boundary may feel almost cruel, not because it is cruel, because you are finally doing something different. You are changing the agreement. Maybe the agreement was never spoken, but everyone understood it. You always answer. You always help. You always forgive. You always rearrange your schedule. You always listen. You always stay. Then one evening, you don't. And suddenly, people notice. That's when the pressure begins. What's wrong with you? You've changed. You used to be different. Why are you being difficult? Those words can trigger old instincts. You want to prove you're still good. You want to explain everything. You want to restore the old peace. Don't rush. Take one breath. Look at what actually happened. You said no. That's all. You didn't betray anyone. You didn't attack anyone. You didn't become heartless. You simply declined, and someone disliked your answer. That is allowed. This is one of adulthood's hardest lessons. You can be a good person. Someone can still be disappointed. Those two truths can exist together. You don't have to eliminate disappointment. You have to stop fearing it. Because if someone's happiness requires your constant compliance, that's not peace. That's dependence. And dependence creates invisible chains. You become responsible for moods, then reactions, then expectations, then everyone else's comfort. Eventually, your life isn't yours. Your calendar belongs to other people. Your evenings belong to other people. Your energy belongs to other people. Even your emotions become public property. Someone gets upset, you immediately feel responsible. Someone withdraws, you panic. Someone criticizes you, you question yourself. Someone asks for something, you automatically say yes. That isn't emotional freedom. That's emotional servitude, and it can hide behind a beautiful word: nice. But being nice isn't the highest form of goodness. Integrity is. Integrity means your actions match your values. Sometimes integrity requires a no, a quiet no, a respectful no, a final no. No dramatic explanation, no emotional performance, no courtroom defense, just no. And that can feel terrifying, especially if you learned love through accommodation. Maybe you learned to be easy, easy to live with, easy to please, easy to forgive, easy to disappoint. You learned that difficult women get rejected, so you became convenient. But convenience isn't identity, and eventually, the woman underneath it gets tired. She wants her life back. Chapter 2. When love becomes a bargain. Some of the hardest no's happen inside relationships. Not romantic relationships only. Friendships, families, workplaces, any place where affection and expectation become tangled. You love someone. They ask for something. You don't want to do it. Immediately, your brain creates a problem. If I say no, they'll think I don't care. That's the trap. You start using compliance as proof of love. You give your time. You give your energy. You give your attention. You give second chances, then more second chances. Eventually, resentment appears, quietly at first. A sigh, a shorter reply, a little distance. You wonder why you're becoming bitter. The answer may be simple. You keep giving what you don't freely want to give. Resentment often grows where boundaries should have been. That's why a clean no can be an act of love. It prevents hidden anger. It prevents silent punishment. It prevents emotional accounting. You don't keep score. You don't think, after everything I did. You simply communicate honestly. I can't do that. I don't want to. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available. I've decided not to. Notice something. None of those sentences require an essay. You don't need 12 reasons. You don't need evidence. You don't need permission. You need clarity. And clarity can feel rude to people accustomed to your confusion, especially when you stop explaining yourself. Explanation can become another form of begging. You explain because you hope they'll approve. You add details because you fear rejection. You soften your position because you want agreement. But boundaries aren't negotiations. Sometimes you're not asking someone to understand. You're informing them of your decision. That's different, and it changes the emotional balance. You can care about someone, still say no. You can respect someone, still disagree. You can love someone, still leave. You can appreciate someone's feelings, still refuse their request. This is where emotional independence becomes real. You stop confusing empathy with obedience. Empathy says, I understand that you're disappointed. Obedience says, therefore, I must change my decision. Those are completely different. You can offer the first, without surrendering to the second. This becomes especially powerful when someone uses guilt. Maybe they say, after everything I've done for you. Maybe they become silent. Maybe they become dramatic. Maybe they question your character. Maybe they call you selfish. Your instinct may be to defend yourself. But sometimes defense gives manipulation more oxygen. You don't have to prove your goodness. Your character isn't determined by one refusal. Let the moment breathe. You can say, I understand you feel that way. Then stop. No argument, no counterattack, no desperate explanation. Silence can be incredibly powerful, not cold silence, grounded silence. The silence of someone who doesn't need to win. You are allowed to let another person misunderstand you. That's a difficult form of freedom. Most people want universal approval, but universal approval requires constant shape-shifting. You become different around everyone. One version at work, another version with family, another version with friends, another version inside relationships. Eventually, you don't know which version is real. A firm no begins reversing that. It creates continuity. The person you are privately becomes visible publicly. Your values become recognizable. Your boundaries become predictable. People learn what access actually means. Some people will respect that, some won't. That difference is useful. A boundary doesn't only protect you, it reveals people. Watch what happens after your no. Healthy people may be disappointed, then they adjust. Controlling people may punish you. They may escalate. They may mock your boundary. They may test it repeatedly. That tells you something. Don't waste the information. You don't need to convince everyone to respect you. You need to notice who already does. That is discernment, and discernment protects your peace. Chapter 3. The freedom of not being liked. Eventually, there comes a quieter realization. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't even need everyone to understand you. That doesn't mean becoming careless. It means becoming honest. You can remain warm. You can remain compassionate. You can remain generous. But generosity becomes a choice, not a reflex. That distinction changes everything. Imagine your phone buzzing late at night. Someone needs something. You are exhausted. Your body says no. Your mind says yes. Old conditioning starts speaking. Be useful. Don't disappoint them. Just do it. But you pause. You take a deep breath. You look around your quiet room. Then you choose yourself. Not dramatically, not angrily, simply honestly. No, I can't tonight. Then you put the phone down. That moment matters because you're teaching yourself something. My needs are real too. Your nervous system learns. Your identity learns. Your relationships learn. You learn that guilt can exist without control. This is crucial. You don't need to wait until guilt disappears. Say no while feeling guilty. Then let the guilt pass. Feel it. Don't worship it. Don't obey it. Let it move through you, like weather. Because guilt is often temporary, but self-betrayal can become a pattern. And patterns shape lives. Every unnecessary yes has a cost. Maybe it's sleep, maybe it's focus, maybe it's creativity, maybe it's healthful rest, maybe it's time with people you love, maybe it's time alone, maybe it's your own dreams. Your calendar reveals your real boundaries. Look at it honestly. How much of your week belongs to you? How much belongs to obligation? How much belongs to fear? How much belongs to other people's expectations? These questions can sting, but they can also wake you up. Your life is finite. Every yes spends something. Time doesn't return. Energy doesn't magically multiply. Attention is limited, so a no isn't always rejection. Sometimes a no is protection. No to another unnecessary meeting. No to another argument. No to another late-night crisis. No to another favor you resent. No to another relationship built on guilt. No to another version of yourself. The version that apologizes for having needs. The version that explains every decision. The version that fears being called selfish. You can retire her. Gently. Without shame. She was probably protecting you once. Maybe she learned that approval meant safety. Maybe she learned that conflict meant danger. Maybe she learned that saying no caused punishment. If so, don't hate that version. Thank her. Then teach her something new. You are safe now. You can disappoint someone. You can survive their reaction. You can leave an uncomfortable conversation. You can close the door. You can choose differently. This is where a firm no becomes something beautiful. It stops being a weapon. It becomes a compass. It tells you where you end. It tells others where they end. Healthy relationships need that space. Without boundaries, closeness becomes possession. With boundaries, closeness becomes choice. And chosen connection is stronger because you're there freely, not because you're afraid, not because you're trapped, not because you're performing goodness. You're there because you want to be. That is real generosity. You give without keeping score. You help without resentment. You listen without disappearing. You love without surrendering yourself. And when you cannot give, you simply don't. No performance, no guilt ritual, no 20-minute explanation. Just honesty. There is something deeply feminine about that strength. Not because women should become harder, because women are often taught to absorb more emotions, more expectations, more invisible labor, more social pressure, more responsibility for everyone's comfort. Saying no interrupts that pattern. It says, I am here too. My time matters too. My energy matters too. My peace matters too. My answer matters too. That isn't selfishness. That is self-respect. And self-respect often looks boring. It doesn't scream. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't make speeches. It simply closes the door. Then it returns to the book, returns to the coffee, returns to the quiet evening, returns to life. That's the beauty of a mature boundary. It doesn't consume your attention. You say no. Then you move on. You don't spend 3 hours analyzing it. You don't replay their reaction. You don't invent future conflicts. You don't punish yourself. You breathe. You continue. That is emotional sovereignty. And perhaps the deepest freedom isn't saying no. It's no longer needing your no to be approved. Someone can dislike it. You remain. Someone can misunderstand it. You remain. Someone can call you selfish. You remain. Someone can walk away. You grieve. Then you remain. You don't chase them down. You don't betray yourself for reconciliation. You don't turn cruel. You simply accept reality. Not everyone will like your boundaries. That's not a failure. It's the natural cost of having them. A woman with no boundaries is easy to please. A woman with boundaries is easy to understand. And that distinction matters. People don't need unlimited access to you. They need clarity. You need clarity too. So the next time your instinct says yes, pause. Don't answer immediately. Take one breath. Feel your body. Ask yourself one question. If nobody became upset, would I still want this? Listen carefully. Your first honest answer matters. If the answer is no, honor it. You don't need a dramatic reason. You don't need a perfect explanation. You don't need permission. You can simply say no. And then let the silence exist. Let someone be disappointed. Let someone ask why. Let them have their feelings. Those feelings belong to them. Your decision belongs to you. That is the boundary. That is the freedom. And eventually, something unexpected happens. People begin learning who you actually are. More importantly, you learn who you actually are. You discover your limits, your values, your priorities, your energy, your real desires. Your real yes becomes more meaningful because it isn't contaminated by fear. When you say yes now, you mean it. When you offer your time, you offer it freely. When you help, you aren't secretly hoping for approval. When you love, you aren't bargaining for security. Your yes becomes cleaner because your no became stronger. And maybe that's the final lesson. A powerful woman isn't the woman who never disappoints anyone. She's the woman who refuses to disappoint herself constantly. She can be kind, she can be gentle, she can be generous, she can be deeply loving and still say no, without hatred, without drama, without guilt deciding her future. She understands something simple. Your life cannot belong to everyone. Your time cannot belong to everyone. Your energy cannot belong to everyone. Your peace cannot belong to everyone. Some things must remain yours. Your morning, your values, your boundaries, your silence, your direction, your self-respect. So say no when you mean no. Say it softly. Say it clearly. Say it once. Then breathe. Let the discomfort pass. Let the silence remain. You don't have to rescue anyone from disappointment. You don't have to rescue yourself from guilt. You simply have to remain honest. Because every honest no creates space. Space for rest, space for purpose, space for love, space for yourself. And sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can say isn't loud. It is one quiet word. No. And for the first time, she means it.